Everyone wants their baby to walk, and it seems like the sooner the better. Walking means independence. Walking means baby graduates to toddler. So why spend time on a less efficient way of moving, like crawling, and just go from sitting to pulling up to stand on furniture to walking? Makes sense, right? Well, let me tell you something. Crawling is such an important milestone that when I tell you all the things that babies learn and develop through crawling, you'll be like, aha, I see why you get so passionate about it. Because it's so cool, all the things that they are learning. So I can't wait to share that with you. So let's just get started. Today I'm going to share with you what your baby learns and strengthens through crawling and some of the things that you might see if you skip crawling altogether. My name is Casey Waugh and I am here to tell you about my passion for crawling. Sounds really weird, I know. As an occupational therapist, sometimes I would get kids when they are 6, 7, 8 years old, having trouble writing, don't have a lot of hand strength, their shoulders are wiggly wobbly, and one of the first things I would ask their parents is, did your baby crawl? And they would say, not really. They kind of just got up and started walking. Now, this video is not here to tell you that if your baby doesn't crawl, they're going to have learning difficulties. No. It's not a straight line. Like nothing in child development is a straight line. But there are a lot of really important things that babies learn through crawling that they need in their future life, including school. It seems crazy that what your baby does impacts what they do in school. But there is that connection because the brain is crazy and it makes all of these spider web connections between this part of the brain and the other, and crawling is a really integral part of that. Before we get into that, please let me know if your baby has started crawling or if they're like wanting to just get up and walk, because sometimes babies, like, they've got that self-motivation. They're like, no, I don't want to do this. This is hard work, so I just want to get up and walk. If they've got older siblings and see that they're doing it, sometimes babies want to skip crawling. So let me know how old your baby is, if they crawled, if they are starting to crawl, and while you're there, hit the subscribe button and the little bell, give it a thumbs up. Okay, enough of that. Let's get started. The first thing we'll talk about as a benefit of crawling is weight bearing. So that just means putting weight through your arms, like in the crawling position. You've got the weight of your body over your shoulders onto your hands. That's just called weight bearing. Now what weight bearing does is it builds strength. Think about doing a plank. Your arms are burning because you're holding your body weight on your arms. But another really important thing that weight bearing does for babies is it develops the arches in your hand. So if you look at your own hand, you'll notice that there are kind of natural ways that your hand bends along these arches. You've got one right here. You have one across the top when you bend your hand here. And you also have an up and down arch, which allows you to separate the different sides of your hands. Like if you think when you're cutting, this side of your hand is your stabilizer and then you're moving these other fingers to cut. So having two sides of your hands and being able to move your fingers in a coordinated and stabilized way, that comes from having arches. Having arches developed in your hand helps you pinch, it helps you pick things up, it helps you to stabilize, like I said. So we need those arches to be built through weight bearing, through crawling, so that your child is able to progress with their fine motor skills as they get bigger and eventually go off to school. I wanted to kind of explain what the arches are because that might be a new idea to you as a parent, but these next things I'm just going to kind of list them off because these are all of the other things that your child is learning and building when they crawl. Strength in their arms, their shoulders, but also in their core and their legs. Gross and fine motor skills. Coordination, using both sides of the body in a smooth and coordinated way. Balance, spatial awareness, figuring out how far something is away, how to go around obstacles, problem solving. Using their eyes together. If they see a toy in the distance and they're like, oh, I want to go get that, they have to figure out how far it is or how near something is. And self-confidence and independence. This is like one of the first opportunities that your baby can get somewhere. So yeah, they're going to be excited about that and see that they now have access to this whole world that they otherwise couldn't see. Some of the things you might see in the long term if your baby doesn't crawl, caveat, not that baby doesn't crawl, you will see all of these things, not a straight line. These are some things you might see if you skip crawling. Difficulty holding a pencil or moving things around in their hands efficiently. So hard time writing when they get to school. Decreased strength in their arms and in their shoulders. So having a hard time getting up off of the floor or pulling up to stand. Shoulder instability. I won't go too much into that topic specifically, but the one thing I'll say is you need a stable base, which would be your shoulders, for your fingers to move efficiently. So unstable shoulders means hard time with fine motor control. If you skip crawling, you can miss out on a lot of early opportunities for side to side or lateral movement, which eventually helps with things like writing and comprehension and cognition. Crawling is really the first time that your baby has to coordinate both sides of their body and not just moving them in the same way, like picking something up or reaching for something. Crawling requires one side of the body does something and the other one does something else, and it has to happen in a reciprocal way for you to be successful. This is really the first time that happens. And from a brain perspective, this side of the brain controls this side of the body, and this side of the brain controls this side of the body. So when you're doing something that both sides have to coordinate, your brain has to talk to each other. This side has to talk to the other side for it to be successful. So crawling is like one of the first really big movements that requires the brain to do a whole bunch of coordinating from one side of the brain to the other. Another thing is that babies' movement when they're little, like newborn babies, their movement is controlled by reflexes, which means that they're not intentionally doing something. Like think about the grasp reflex when you brush your finger against the baby's palm or put your finger there. They grab it. That's a reflex. Or when you lay your baby down on their back and they startle. That's a reflex. Crawling and moving through these reciprocal movement patterns is a really essential way that those reflex movements get integrated, or for lack of a better word, for your baby to overcome those reflexes so that they can move in ways that they want to. So again, not saying if your baby doesn't crawl, they're going to show reflexes when they're 4. Sometimes if a baby is stationary for a long time, doesn't have a lot of opportunities to work against gravity and roll and move and sit and crawl and then eventually walk, some of those reflexes that should have gone away at 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, they're still there whenever they are 2, 3, sometimes even older. So those reflexes not having a chance to get integrated can impact how your child moves later in life. Okay, you might be thinking that's a little extreme. You're saying if my baby doesn't crawl, he's gonna have trouble in school. I've already said this like 3 times, but I'm gonna say it again. No, crawling or not crawling does not directly affect school success, but learning all of those things that I mentioned as benefits of crawling when they are crawling gives you the foundation for success. If we skip those skills now, oftentimes there isn't a good place to learn them again, because crawling, they don't have the ability to get up and move really quickly away, so they're able to focus on, oh, I move my hand this way and I see something this far away. I'm moving one side of my body and the other in a reciprocal way. So what can you do? Give your baby the opportunity to practice crawling. And the best place, I say this I think in every video that I do, the best place for your baby to be is on the floor, not in a jumperoo or an exerciser or a swing. Those are great in moderation when you need them, but the best place for your baby to play is right on the floor. and you on the floor with them. To wrap up, not crawling does not mean your baby is destined for learning difficulties. But look at it this way. Moving on the floor, crawling, exploring, playing, in baby speak, that is learning. No, they aren't doing math problems, but moving on the floor on their own develops spatial awareness and how near and how far something is. It develops their vision, which you need for reading. It develops hand strength and arches, which you need for writing. Do you see the relationship here? Crawling on hands and knees is just as important as walking. Yes, we want our babies up and moving and independent, but encourage crawling. Put your baby on the floor and get down there with them. Now, do you see why I think crawling is so important and why other OTs and PTs and pediatricians think that crawling is so important? It builds lifelong skills that your baby needs in the future. So, I hope that this video was helpful for you. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up, share it, send it to a mom, send it to somebody who's pregnant so they are ready and prepared to help their baby crawl when they get to that point. And I will see you guys next time.